Welcome back, everyone. Let's talk about another Goosebumps episode that I watched tonight, which was Night of the Living Dummy 2. Now, they didn't do a first Night of the Living Dummy movie not movie, but TV episode for Goosebumps because I feel like the first Night of the Living Dummy is actually, in a way, kind of too scary for kids. That cover alone for the first Night of the Living Dummy is terrifying. I think it actually is really scary still as an adult. But that book cover of Slappy in the first Night of the Living Dummy is creepy, and I can see why until the Goosebumps movies that came out a couple years ago and today, they had Slappy as a different looking guy in the Night of the Living Dummy 2 and 3 in the TV show, because Slappy in this version has red hair and looks different than he does in that cover art for the first Goosebumps book, and he looks more like he does in the Goosebumps movies, the Jack Black ones, but I think that was too scary looking. That Slappy in on the cover for the first book, but the book, the first Night of the Living Dummy book, I think the reason why they didn't make it into a show is because there's a couple moments where it pushes itself really far for a kid's thing. I was honestly surprised reading it as a kid. I remember Slappy towards the end of the book of the first Night of the Living Dummy where he was choking out a dog, like grabbing the dog, choking him out while the girl character was like trying to get him off the dog, and he was literally choking the dog in a submission. Like, that's pretty creepy so I understand why they started with Night of the Living Dummy 2, because moments like that in the first book, I'm like, that's a little too far for a kid's show. But I would have seen that. I would have been fine seeing that as a kid, but some kids probably wouldn't be okay with that, or would have been too scared. But anyways, Night of the Living Dummy 2, since we're starting off with the second one as a show episode. So this girl named Amy has a dummy named Dennis, but his head keeps falling off because he's just an old dummy and he just doesn't work anymore, and she likes to do ventriloquy. And it's funny enough, his head keeps falling off, and she's like, I need another dummy from you guys, like for her parents. And the dad's like, well, what do you know? Just look across the couch, and then you'll see if we got something for you. And it's a Slappy dummy. And he said he found it at like an antique kind of store. And she says the words, of course, that bring Slappy to life. And then after this, Slappy starts saying stuff that Amy is like not saying, like he's saying mean jokes to all the family, treating them all bad, but then they think it's Amy. And Slappy then does all these things where like he will paint over like Sister Sarah's picture, like she made this picture of the house, but then he drew over like red outline of like the family on the picture, which isn't scary, but it's just kind of silly. Or then he'll like grab this girl, like Amy's friend's sister, he'll grab this little girl's fingers and just hold him, and she'll be freaking out, like he can't let go of her fingers, and like it makes Amy look even worse. Or like he tries to hit Amy's parents with a guitar, and then she grabs him, but then it looks like she broke the guitar. And then Slappy tells her later, like, you're my slave, like we're one and together now, like you can't escape me. And like she even throws him down a sewer grate, and like he still comes back, which will happen in the third Night of the Living Dummy as well whenever we get to that. But it's funny that like Slappy never dies, except for at the end of this episode, because he does actually die. But usually he like comes back he always comes back, even though he dies. He's like Chucky. And speaking of Chucky, there's a line in this where he says, wanna play, which I was like, okay, that's an obvious Chucky line that they purposefully put in that. And maybe it's because Slappy has red hair, and this is because they wanted to imitate the Chucky movies. I didn't think about that until this moment. Like, he has red hair like Chucky does. That's kind of funny. But it's funny because towards the end, like, Sarah as well figures out that Slappy's alive as the parents are sleeping, and then he chases them around the house, and then somebody throws Slappy into onto the fireplace like stand, and he breaks, like his head just breaks open, like he literally just breaks in pieces, like his head. And then the parents come out, and they're like, Dennis saved us. Or not Dennis, the I forgot what the kid's name is. The brother. He was barely in this, but the brother. They're like, the brother. He see our brother saved us, and he walked out. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm right here. And then all the family just sees this. They turn and see somebody's right there, the one who killed Slappy. And then it's just Dennis sitting there, Dennis the dummy sitting there, and he's the one who saved them. But then he's got this silly, dopey voice like Goofy, where he's like, "Oh, I'm so glad to be a part of the family again," and that's how it ends. And it ends on a note where it's not scary. It's just like, oh, so there's another dummy alive, but he's not sadistic like Slappy. Hopefully, like you don't get enough of Dennis to know, but. But I thought that was funny. It was just like it just ends with him talking in a dopey voice. Like that just cracked me up. That's how they end the episode, as opposed to a scary ending, because this was kind of an odd ending. But I enjoyed that though. I enjoyed this episode a lot, and I watched this a lot as a kid, so it doesn't show that I are already like this biasly, but I enjoyed this episode again rewatching it. I thought it was really fun. I can't wait to watch the other Night of the Living Dummy episode and Bride of the Living Dummy, but I'm watching them in order on the Netflix, so like they're kind of few and far between. These episodes are not all together. Like I also saw that the Say Cheese and Die episode. There's a Say Cheese and Die again, but it's not even close in terms of like viewing order. So I'll get to the other Night of the Living Dummies eventually. But as is, I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was really fun. I really enjoyed a rewatch of it. It's very nostalgic. So again, I loved rewatching this one. So this was a fun one as opposed to the last one I watched, The Return of the Mummy. So. Yeah, I enjoyed this episode. So what do you guys think of this episode? Tell me down below. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want. So thank you so much for watching. And more Goosebumps episodes will be there in the future for me.